What is up? Welcome back to part two of the Scary Stories trilogy. I'm just going to get right into it. Part two, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, was released on Halloween 1984. The first book was such a success that they wasted some time bringing the second one out. But these have more stories, and I will be going through each one and giving a score. You know my history with the Scary Story books. First one I got from the Scholastic Flyer, along with X-Men Seek and Find. Books number 2 and 3, I did not own myself. I owned them later in a trade paperback. I explained that on the last episode, but I still grew up with the stories. And so here we go. First things first, if you don't remember, here are our scoring systems. Peak horror. This is the best of the best. This is the best stories of the series. GS, a good scare. These ones, they're not the best, but they're still good stories and they'll still scare you. On rereads, I will reread them. CF, campfire fodder. These are the stories that you use to pad out your campfires or tell people at scary story parties, if those exist. These are the meat and potatoes, basic stories for the books. FF, for frightfully forgettable. These are ones that I pretty much forgot all about up until having to do research for this episode. And these are the ones that, were one and done with me. They didn't stick with me. I didn't care for them. T for terrible. These are the worst of the worst. These are ones that I will usually skip over. I won't read. They might be too long. They might be boring. You might not be scary at all. They might not belong in a book called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Chapter 1. When she saw him, she screamed and ran. By the way, there will be spoilers for all the stories. I'm getting that out of the way now. And something was wrong. A man is walking downtown and everyone's afraid of him. People are running away. Cars aren't picking him up. He gets so frustrated, he calls his wife to see what's wrong. Voice picks up the phone. Oh, his wife's not here. She's at her husband's funeral. He was dead all along. And although it might be kind of campy and kind of cliche with the he was dead all along, I am putting this in a good scare. This is a good book. It gives a sense of unease, and I really enjoy this story. Next one is The Wreck. Guy meets girl at a dance. They have a great time. Guy gives her tinsel for her hair. Girl tells the guy, oh, by the way, I crashed my car on the way here. Oh, it's okay. I'll give you a ride home. During the drive home, he drops her off, but then he realizes he never got her name. So he drives back the street that he dropped her off on. Guess what? There's a car wreck. She's inside with the tinsel in her hair. She was dead all along. I am putting this one in frightfully forgettable. Not only is it another they were dead all along story right after that first one, but it's another person gives another person a token, which is later found on their dead body. If you want a story like that, go back to the first book and stick with Cold as Clay. This one just ain't cutting it. One Sunday morning, a woman lives across the street from the church. One day she goes to the early service, but guess what? It's not for the living, it's for the undead. She has to run for her life after the service is over, while the undead chase her out of the church. This one I am going into peak horror. I really enjoy this one. This one always gets chills out of me, and you can feel there, like you can feel the writing being so good and get such a great scare out of it. I am putting it right up in peak horror. Next one, Sounds. This was a story about people who take refuge in a house while they hear noises upstairs and screaming and a murder, and turns out there is no one up there. This one, I put in frightfully forgettable. Out of all the stories of this series, this may be the one that I actually had to research a couple times while doing this, because I honestly forgot about this story. It is that forgettable. And there's another one like that in the next book. We'll get to that there. I'm trying to think which is the better one. I think I graded that one the same way. But Sounds, that one goes right in frightfully forgettable. Next up, it's a 2-for-1 with The Weird Blue Light and Somebody Fell from a Loft. These are two supernatural stories that take place on ships. One a Civil War era ship, one a pirate ship. These ones are both terrible. They were boring. They were not interesting. They were both super long. And then, if you're listening to the audiobook or reading the book itself, if you're not paying attention, you may think they're the same story. These I had no desire to reread again. Not only are they long, but like I said, they are boring. And those are both terrible stories. The Little Black Dog. In the Old West, a man or an outlaw shoots a man and then shoots his dog too. And for the rest of his days, he sees the dog following him wherever he goes. And when he dies, he's covered in black dog hair. Also, nobody can see the dog. This one goes in frightfully forgettable. There's another dog story coming up later, and this one just sort of has supernatural hint to it, but not really. They didn't explore it as much. It kind of feels like a retread of the White Wolf from the first scary stories. Clinkety clink. It's time for that first cliche again. Gravedigger is burying a body, sees 2 coins on her eyes, takes them off, nails the coffin shut, buries it, puts the coins in a small metal box that goes clinkety clink. Later, when he's asleep, guess what happens? Someone is calling out for the coins. That's right, it's the big toe cliche all over again. Calling out for, where is my money? And you can probably guess how it ends, because it ends the same way the big toe did, with the ghost reclaiming her prize. This one I'm going to put in campfire fodder, because although it isn't the best use of the cliche, it still is a good scare, but not good to be put in a good scare. Chapter 2, she was spitting and yowling just like a cat. And the first story is The Bride. On the day of a wedding, everyone plays games, including hide and seek. The bride figures she's found the perfect spot in an old chest, but as she's getting in, hits her on the head, she passes out. Years later, maid comes looking for something in the chest, and the bride's gone, but there's a skeleton in a bridal dress there. This one is pure campfire fodder. The setting, the scare at the end, this is perfect for that category. Rings on her fingers. When a wealthy lady is buried with rings on her fingers, a gravedigger decides to dig her up. But, plot twist, she wasn't dead all along, she was alive all along. And it scares the grave robber to the point where he falls on his knife and falls back into the grave. This one I am putting into a good scare. This one I really enjoy, and you know, it's got that kind of humorous twist to it. I really enjoyed it. I think you will too. The Drum. This one, 2 little girls see another little girl playing with a drum. They have a man and woman coming out. They want to play with the drum. The little girl says, you can have it if you're really bad. So the girls go home and they are bad, and the mom says, hey, if you don't stop being bad, I'm not going to be here, and your new mom will have glass eyes and a wooden tail. That's apparently a thing. So they keep trying to be bad for the drum. When they finally have been bad enough, the little girl says, oh, I was just joking. Plot twist, when they go home, their mom's gone, but their new mom's there with glass eyes and a wooden tail. This one goes into terrible. Story goes on for far too long. Wasn't very interesting, and the plot twist at the end was kind of sad. This might be the worst of the book for me. The Window. A girl lying by her window sees some sort of creature who jumps in and attacks her. Her brothers chase it out. Months later, it comes back, so they chase it down. Turns out it was a vampire-type creature, and they burn it the next day. This one I keep forgetting about every time I read it, and this one would go into frightfully forgettable. I don't hate the story. You may get a scare out of it, but I just did not. Wonderful Sausage. In this story, a man and his wife have an argument, and the man accidentally kills her. So what does he do with the body? He grinds it in his sausage grinder and sells the sausage. After it becomes so popular, he tries to make it more, but finds out that the mysterious ingredient, which is humans, cannot be replicated. So he's got to do what he's got to do to keep that sausage flowing, and hopefully don't get caught. This one is going into a good scare. I really enjoy this one, and it's funny, and spoilers, the bad guy gets his comeuppance. So this is a great addition to the book, and it is a good scare. The Cat's Paw. When a cat getting the meat in someone's smokehouse, the owner of the smokehouse shoots off their paw. But later, when she leaves, the paw turns back into a hand, and turns out that the lady was screaming and yowling just like a cat. This one goes in campfire fodder. This one is a good story to tell. It's a good campfire story. The Voice. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Someone is laying in bed, and there's a voice calling out to them saying that they're gonna get you. Well, guess what? In this one, there's no intro and no payoff. And this one is just man, I need another story. I'll just go back to the well of yelling at someone while they're in bed. And this one falls flat for me. This one is going right down to terrible. No stops, no breaks, going right down. I care not for the story. Chapter 3. When I wake up, everything will be all right. Oh, Susanna. This is a twist on the "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light" urban legend, where the girl puts her hand down with the dog licking. It's like that with the girl and her roommate. It ends fairly the same way. This one's going in frightfully forgettable. The man in the middle. A girl rides the subway late at night when 3 men come on. One gets off, the second one gets off, then the third one slumps down, blood starts trickling from a gunshot. This one is another urban legend style story, and I put it right in campfire fodder. And you could even add this happened to my cousin, this happened to my friend, my uncle's social worker told me about this one. It is another pure campfire fodder story. Another campfire fodder story, The Cat in the Shopping Bag. When a woman finds a dead cat on the side of the road, she gets it wrapped up in a nice box, puts it in a nice shopping bag, places it in her car. But when it's stolen, the person who steals it is in for a nasty surprise. This is another great urban legend story. This one is a little bit more tongue-in-cheek than the previous one. It'll get a few laughs with that twist at the end. The Bed by the Window. In an old folks' home, what happens when the green-eyed monster wants a bed closer to the window? Why, it seems like a recipe for murder. A man describes what he sees outside a window, and the other old man becomes envious, so he plots to murder the man by the window. It's going right down and frightfully forgettable. It seemed like it didn't belong in this book. So, Man by the Window, The Bed by the Window, frightfully forgettable. The Dead Man's Hand. What happens when a prank involving a cadaver's hand and a light rope go horribly wrong? Well, I forget, because this one's going right and frightfully forgettable. I've heard versions of the story before. There seems to be a lot of urban legend styles here. This one just misses the mark on campfire fodder, and it stays in frightfully forgettable because it's not that scary and it's not that engaging. So, Dead Man's Hand didn't really do it for me. It's going in frightfully forgettable. The Ghost in the Mirror. This is How to Play Bloody Mary. If you don't know, now you know. This is going into terrible. Once again, it feels like they were really reaching for something here, so they just threw in whatever they could. The Curse. What happens when a frat prank goes horribly wrong? Well, in The Curse, it turns out that a fraternity might have been responsible for the murders of 2 pledges. This one, I just remember it seemed so long when I was a kid reading this. This was definitely a one and done for me. I would put it in frightfully forgettable. It just edges out of terrible, but it's a far away from campfire fodder. If you listen to the audiobook, it feels like it takes forever. The Last Laugh. Once again, these are stories that are meant to make you laugh, not scare you. So let's see what they have in store this chapter. Church. When a man takes shelter from a storm in a church, he starts to see ghosts in there. But when he gets closer up to one, the ghost starts baaing at him. This one makes for a good campfire fodder story. So at the end of the night, when you're trying to calm everything down and cool down, this is a great story to tell. The Bad News. When a baseball fan's friend visits him from beyond the grave, he asks if they have baseball in heaven. The good news is they do, but the bad news is, guess who's pitching tomorrow? Once again, this kind of is a tongue-in-cheek, scary, funny story that I would put in campfire fodder. It's that good, and I enjoy this one. And I feel like if you have any baseball fan friends, they'll enjoy it also. Cemetery Soup. This is another one that I don't remember that well. I'm putting it in frightfully forgettable. Even when I did a few research sessions for this one, I kept forgetting that one. Most of these stories I do remember from when I was a kid, even if I put them in frightfully forgettable. This one I don't at all. I think it's made a recipe for cemetery soup. If I could remember more, I might put it into terrible or might put it into campfire fodder, but I think its home is frightfully forgettable. The Brown Suit. When a funeral home owner finds out that the corpse that he has usually actually wears a blue or brown suit instead of a blue suit, and the other corpse usually wears a blue suit instead of a brown suit, his quick thinking gets the job done, even though the widow is not too acceptable of his methods. He switches the heads. This one is a great laugh, or a good laugh, And so it is going right up there. I remember laughing at it as a kid, thinking that some of these stories are pretty funny, while other ones totally miss the mark. Speaking of missing the mark, in Barum, two skeletons are laying next to each other, but the thing is, each one doesn't know that the other is dead. That's it. It's a little poem, I think, like maybe 6 or 7 lines. Frightfully forgettable. There's no reason to read this one. I won't say terrible because it's not that bad, but it's just frightfully forgettable. And finally, Thumpity Thump. This one is what happens when a chair moves with a family in the house and goes to an old site in the basement that there may be a body under. I stopped reading partway through because it was just frightfully forgettable. This is one that I didn't care for, which I say about all the ones about frightfully forgettable. That's where it's staying. I don't have much to say about this one, so I'm just going to end it there. And we are sort of falling flat on our faces leaving this book. We started off kind of strong, but we're leaving kind of weak. So, Scary Stories 2, it's been real. So that's more scary stories to tell in the dark. There was only one peak horror story, and that was One Sunday Morning. So that is my champion of this book. Probably the weakest one would be The Drum. I know it was close. Tied for second place of the worst is A Weird Blue Light and Somebody Fell from a Loft. But I don't care for long stories like that unless I'm reading a book, a long book. So let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. What's your favorite book? What's your favorite story? What's your least favorite story? How would you rank these different? Because I can guarantee nobody would rank these the same. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Peace.